there was too many times when it should have went the other way and didn't. That I should be more thankful, actually. Bradford Dale Marley, 6'4", 47. My high school years was probably about the 4 best years that you could have as a kid growing up. Grew up in a small little town. My graduating class, well, we had 23 in my graduating class. We were very small, but town was probably 2,400 people, I suppose. Little railroad mining town in Nevada. And you know, I didn't grow up around any prejudice or anything. You know, everybody was really close in the town, and in small towns, back in the 60s, the main things you did was, when you were in high school, you played sports. Of course, everybody that went out usually made the team because we didn't have that many players. But anyway, so I played football and basketball and did some track. And that was, you looked forward to the sports. After sports, there was always dances. We had dances every weekend. Just had a ball dancing every weekend. So I mean, I grew up really kind of a sheltered life. I mean, I was kind of like out in the middle of nowhere, and the rest of the world, I really didn't have any idea what the whole world was all about. But high school years was fantastic, and luckily I made it through there and graduated, and ended up with a you know, little rinky-dink football scholarship over to Treasure Valley, and so after I graduated, I decided to go to school over there, and at the end of the summer, I hadn't heard from the college, so I called up there and said, you know, do I still have the scholarship? They said, well, your coach never did let us know that you wanted it, but if you want to come up here and try out for the team, you know, you can. So I decided to go up there, and then when I got up there, I never did go out for football, and I lasted till December, and didn't like it, and didn't really even think about military, to tell you the truth. I'm sure it was probably, you know, I was aware of it at the time, but
This is what year?
This is 65.
Vietnam's kicking off.
Mm-hmm. It's going, but I mean, I'm not really worried about it, you know. So went ahead and went to college up there, didn't study, just played around, and I lasted until December. I'm going, well, you know, no sense wasting all this money and stuff, you know. So went back home, and a buddy of mine went to high school with was taking a test for the phone company, and they needed 2 guys to take this test. So my buddy says, well, you're looking for a job, you want to take this test with me? He says, yeah, sure. So I felt a little guilty because I took the test with him. I got the job. He didn't, you know. As of yesterday, I've been with the phone company 35 years. and I saw him at our reunion here not too long ago. He's working at a coal mine back in, I think it's over in Wyoming or Montana. He's been there for about 25 years. So, I mean, it's really quirky how these little paths, you know, you go down there that, you know, take you down where you go in life. But anyway, so he ended up going to the Navy and went to work for the phone company. I worked for him a month, got my notice to take my Army physical. So I went into Utah, took the physical, came back, and I had to have at least 6 months with the company in order for my time to go on when I got drafted. So I took the went back to work for the phone company, and 6 months I got my draft notice to report, and then the date was on there, and the date was 1 week after I had the 6 months. And I knew by that time I was going to Vietnam, or I figured pretty good chance, you know. So I told my dad, I says, hey, I'm just going to quit, you know, because I had about 45 days notice, you know. And I says, I'm just going to quit, you know. My dad says, no, you better stay working for him, you know. You might need that job when you get out. And I really wanted to quit because I knew if I kept working, I was only going to have a week vacation coming, and then I was going to be in the Army. So that's what I ended up doing. And fortunate enough, when I was over in Vietnam, you know, spent my 2 years in the Army, that my time went on with the company. And so when I got back, I had 2.5 years seniority, and I've been there ever since. Greetings. This was my draft notice here. Yeah, you're hereby directed to present yourself to the Armed Services Physical Examination. This was to go in for my physical. Yeah, this is in February. I hired on with a phone company 31st of January. And this was a notice to go in for my physical, is what this one was. That's when I went into Utah and took my physical.
So what was your feeling when you got that in the mailbox? You knew it was coming, didn't you?
I had a pretty good idea. You know, most of the guys that have been going to college, I mean, the draft, I mean, they kept good track of you. Back in those days, they were drafting 30, 40,000 a month.
And this is 66.
Yeah, this is when things are going pretty good over there. Started really hopping. So
what was your mood?
A little, excitement over the fact that the unknown. Because the only thing that I ever knew about Army and war and stuff was what he saw in the movies. And looking back on it, you know, those were like older guys, you know. And, here I'm only 19, I'm going. So I really didn't have, I expected when I went in the Army, when I did go in there, that there'd be all these older guys leading everybody around. And what I found out was the whole Army at that time was about between the ages of 23 and 19. So that was kind of a shock that, there was no older guys over there. You know, there's like the John Waynes and those guys. So anyway, that was a kind of an eye-opener at the time.
There's no Robert Mitchums or...
No, just a bunch of kids. You know, I look back on it, at the time, I didn't think of myself as a kid. I think the situation you get put under, you know, when you go through your training and all that sort of thing. I was pretty naive, like I say, coming out of Nevada. And so it was a new experience to all the different people, but I've always been pretty strong physically. So the training and that kind of stuff wasn't hard for me at all. So, in fact, I really had fun. I really had fun when in basic training and infantry training.
Advanced infantry training.
Yes, down in Fort Polk. I mean, I've always had a sense of humor, and I mean, if we weren't giving, taking orders from somebody and doing something, I mean, we were always joking and laughing and screwing around. And so I had a really good time at basic. I laughed my ass off in basic at some of just the dumb shit things that they make you do, you know. So, and then we got down to Fort Polk. It got a little more serious down there. We went into
where'd you do your basic?
Fort Lewis, and we were up there. Went up in August. I think I got drafted the 16th of August of '66, and we were up there. We were up in Fort Lewis 2 or 3 months, whatever basic is, 8 weeks, I think, something like that. And then usually you get a leave afterwards, but for some reason we didn't get a leave. We went straight from Fort Lewis down to Fort Polk. We went in early. Everybody that went to Fort Polk from Fort Lewis went into this leadership preparation course down there, and then we were trained to help the platoon sergeants and stuff train the troops when they came in another 2 weeks. So we went through some real extensive training for a 2-week period, you know, on just basic stuff, weaponry and all that kind of stuff. So then the troops came in, and we were there, did our training at Fort Polk. Still hadn't had a leave or even a weekend off or anything. They were thinking about giving us a weekend off, and some guy came down with spinal meningitis at Polk, and they restricted the whole fort. So we were there till Christmas. So we got like a 2-week Christmas leave. We went home for Christmas, came back for a couple of weeks, finished our training, and then we got our orders. And it was kind of funny that everybody, of course, thinks that there was a couple places. There were 3 places you could go. You're either going to go to Korea, or you're going to go to Germany, or you're going to go to Vietnam. So naturally, it must happen to every company every time they graduate from Polk out of there, that the word comes around, hey, our unit's going to Germany. We're going to Germany. No kidding, yeah. So everybody, and I think there was one guy who goes to Germany, and the other 99% of us go to Vietnam. So we got our orders. So I went back home on leave and saw my folks and flew down to L.A., saw my brother down there. Tough things. Those are hard things to go through. Saying goodbye to my brother, that was tough. And
were you guys tight?
Oh yeah, we still are.
What's his name?
Tom. And I see him like every other day. But that was probably, saying goodbye to him and my folks was the toughest part of that war.
They loved you to death, didn't
Oh yeah. And I didn't find out till later. My brother, he was, if something would have happened to me over there, he might have done something drastic politically, to somebody. But anyway, so I figured the reason I made it back was so he wouldn't do anything stupid. So, but anyway, while I was home that last time, my dad had an idea to give me a blessing through my church. So I got this blessing, and to kind of protect me and look after me while I'm over there. And I'm sure that's why I'm sitting here today. It was because of that. There were just, like I say, too many close calls over there that could have went the other direction that didn't, that allowed me. Religious background at the time, I think probably, I'm a firm believer that that's probably why I'm sitting here today. I went to church all the time. I was in high school. I wasn't, I didn't really live it like I should. I still don't, but I try. Yeah, I've always had a testimony of the church. And so, and after I figured in my mind that if I was going to receive these blessings that I'd been given, that I had best be doing what I'm supposed to be doing the year I'm over there. So, like I say, I didn't smoke, didn't drink, tried to do everything together, tried to do everything that I was supposed to be doing, and as it worked out, it worked out quite well, so. A lot. You can't be in the military and not swear. I don't care who you are. Yeah, you have a language. The military's got a language of its own, and with the sense of humor I've got, it was an art of cutting people down. You just did it. That's the first thing you did. It's probably the last thing you did, and you just didn't want to give anybody an opening to say anything about you or to you, because they'd cut you to ribbons. And it got to be, before I got out of there, I got to be very, very good at that. That was, I don't know if it's something to be proud of, but anyway, that's just what you did. You just, insulted people till, they cried if you could. You were happy, and so, and that went on over in Vietnam too. If it seemed to me like if we weren't getting shot at, you were laughing or joking around or screwing around, And it was like, to me, it was like going out on a hunting trip, but you got about 30-some guys out there. said goodbye to my folks and my brother, and it was 2 times when I flew back from L.A. with my brother. I'm in uniform, you know, because I'm getting a military, you know, discount. And after I say goodbye to my, so, you know, here's the brave fighting man on the plane crying his ass off, you know, leaving my brother. And so I get on the bus in Reno to go to San Francisco to catch our flight out of there to go to Vietnam. Same shit. I'm crying on the bus again, you know, halfway to Sacramento. And yeah, those were really 2 tough times, saying goodbye to my dad and brother. So
Tell me about when you say goodbye to your dad and mom.
don't really want to. It's very emotional.
What was the, it is early.
My mom couldn't even walk me to the bus. She stayed in the car.
What
I mean,
was
she couldn't do anything. My dad and I were, I mean, we had a real good relationship. And he never did do a lot with us kids, but we all looked up to him, all respected him. And I could tell it was just about as hard on him as it was on me.
What was the last thing he said to you?
Take care of yourself, I think it was.
Did he tell you he loved you?
Oh, yeah.
What was the last thing your mom said?
I don't know. She was crying when I got out of the car. She didn't even get out, so it was probably just as well. It'd been even worse. But I often wondered what the people on the bus were thinking, you know. Yeah, these are our fighting men going over there, yeah, blubbering halfway to. And, you know, that was so more towards the beginning of the war, and they hadn't really developed the attitude that they did by the time I got back from Fort Polk, and I had, I don't know, I think I had like 3 weeks, 4 weeks before I went to Vietnam, and so I flew down to L.A. and saw him.
Okay.
When we went through our training at Fort Polk, after we finished our training, and just before we got our orders and everything, they got us all together in this little outside theater grandstand thing, and they had a morale officer come over and give you a speech. This guy was good. I mean, when he got through talking to you, you were ready to go kill the world for your country. It was all about God, country, army, loyalty, all that sort of thing, patriotism. I mean, he covered it all. And when you got done, I mean, whatever they asked you to do, you were going to do. It was a great, great speech. It's often remembered, you know, that stuff, what he was talking about. So anyway, that was, you were ready to do whatever your country asked you to do. And that's the way I always felt about it. I mean, sometimes you luck out when you're growing up, you don't have to go through these things. You just, you know, I consider it lucky. Some people would like the experience, some people, you know, glad they don't have to go through it. But sometimes you have to pay a price for living in this country. And that's the way I always felt about it, was, hey, I mean, I just wasn't that lucky. And this is, you know, it's the price I'm going to have to pay to live here. So that's the way I always felt about it.
Gives you some peace. And
you bet, yeah. I mean, this is your country. And so this is what they ask you to do. This is what you do. I think in the Marines, they drill it in them from day one. And they really don't do that in the Army. To the extent, like I say, that the pride, you know, and it's more about the Marines themselves, I think, in the Marines than it is, I'm sure country and everything is in there, but I've got buddies that are Marines, and they have a different attitude about the whole thing. Very cliquish, very proud, and like I say, I don't care what war you're ever in or whatever, but the wars, it don't matter what war you're in, no war gets any bigger than one guy over there shooting at this guy over here. If it gets any bigger than that, I don't know what it is, but yeah, everybody gets their stuff, packs up, goes home. They all got orders to meet at certain places around the country to fly out. So, and our particular place was out of San Francisco. So I met a buddy Fred Graves from Madras, Oregon. He flew down to Nevada, down to Reno, and I met him in Reno. And my folks were down there, and we spent a couple nights there, and then we went to San Francisco, and we were there, I think, one night, and then we got on a military jet the next day. Nobody, we didn't know how we were going to fly over there. We figured probably commercial, wrong. Started off bad right away, We ended up in a military jet with no windows, no nothing, no stewardess, no anything.
No AC?
No. And we're just looking backwards at duffel bags for about 20 hours of flying, so. And we flew from San Francisco to Wake Island, from Wake Island into the Philippines. Each place we got out for a little while, walked around, and then we flew on into Vietnam and landed there at Bien Hoa, down by Saigon at night on the way over, which I normally do. But anyway, I was sleeping quite a little bit, just passing time. It's so boring because you're sitting there, forever. But it's still unknown. You just don't know what to expect. Luckily, when we were in Fort Polk, we had a couple of sergeants that came back and were in on some of our training. And rather than put us through some ridiculous stuff that they didn't think was worth anything, they got us off to the side, our little group, and just asked us if there's any questions. And they kind of told us pretty much what it was going to be like. And that was the first realization that the first time somebody actually leveled with us as far as what it was actually going to be like. Like the conditions that you were going to be under. You're going to be out in the field for months at a time, without, clothes, same clothes, all that kind of stuff. Leeches, the mosquitoes, all that kind of stuff. And so they gave us a pretty good overview. But still, being 19, naive, you still don't get a good idea of what it's like. You don't, not till you get over there. And that's why I think it was the American public had such a hard time even having sympathy or understanding what it was like over there. Because unless you're there, you're in your daily routine over here, and you're so removed from it, it's just kind of like entertainment on the TV, I think, at night, rather than really realizing what's going on over there. Even though there were lots of people getting killed and wounded and coming home, and those families were affected, but the average person that wasn't affected, I didn't have a good idea what it was all about. And I think they had a hard time. Because I kind of got, when they had the Desert Storm thing, and all of us, I think there wasn't a better supporter of the Desert Storm people than the guys, the Vietnam vets, because they knew they didn't want those guys coming back like we did. So I think that was, but I could see friends of mine and stuff, they really didn't get into it. It's just, it's over there, it's removed, and so it's kind of my thoughts on that. I just remember him talking about, it isn't like some of the training that we were going through. It's going to be a lot more involved. The physical part is going to be a lot more physical, and your adrenaline, it's going to be at a high for about a year. So there's probably a fine line between excitement and fear. You probably had a combination of both, not knowing what the heck to expect. You didn't know if you were going to get shot at them. You didn't get off the plane and right into war. You really didn't know, those particular things. You didn't know if there was any safe places over there, or if, you just didn't know. You really had to feel those things out when you got over there. I've never been in a country where the country, to me, had an odor. But this country seemed to have an odor to it. I mean, I don't know, it was, the cooking and stuff they did, I don't know, the smoke from that, you get around the village, around the hooches and all that kind of stuff. I don't know, it was a combination. So when you stepped off that plane, two things hit you immediately. it was like stepping into an oven, first of all. Because we just left the States in February, which was freezing your butt off. And the next thing, you're stepping off. I mean, it's like, I don't know what time it was at night, but it's like 90, 100 degrees over there. So those two things, the smell and the heat, when you stepped off that plane, was really and everything's
shocker.
black and see, and you know, you don't have a, you figure like, well, maybe I should have a rifle or something, I mean, just walking around here with a duffel bag, isn't gonna make it. So, everybody gets their duffel bags, and they walk over to a bus. They load us on this bus, and we go about, probably a couple miles, I suppose, through part of Benoit or whatever, to this holding station at you would go to. You'd stay there long enough to get assigned to whatever unit you were going to go to. Still with my buddy, and there was about 3 of us that were at Fort Polk together that were over there. Well, I'm sure you've probably heard this before about some of the duties at the holding place, but the food sucked right away. You realize that what you thought was milk was like cottage cheese. I mean, you didn't drink any milk after that. And you get different duties to do during the day. Each day you have something to do. They give you a detail before you go to before you actually get out of there. So the longer you stay there, by the time you get ready to go, you've had enough of this place. And in fact, I don't know whether you've heard of, one of the duties that I had, the first duty I had was, they called about 5 of us out, 6 of us. And they said, Marley and the other guys, you're on shit burning detail today. We're looking at each other going, shit burning. That must be a bad detail, The hell's that? So that's what it was. They'd take us over to the latrines, and this is like about, 400 or 500 guys in this thing. They go in this thing every day, and they got these 5-gallon drums cut off, and that's what everybody went to the bathroom in. And your job was to open up the back part, a handle on each one of these things, and I don't know why they couldn't burn it closer to where the latrine, but anyway, you'd have to get in step and try and keep in step with this jostling all this crap and stuff. We'll go about 100 yards away to where you could burn it. And you were spelling it. I mean, and we're going, I'll tell you. They said war was going to be bad, but we didn't think it was going to be this bad. So by the time you got through with the ship burning detail, and that the only good thing about it is that's the only detail you had in the morning, because you were usually shot the rest of the day anyway. So you didn't have to do nothing the rest of the day if you had that detail, but it was bad. So anyway, so that was my first day. I'm going, they said war was going to be hell, it is. So anyway, we got through that little detail, and in the evening we just talked. We were in these canvas tents, and it was hotter than hell. And once in a while at night, there was some sniper fire coming in the perimeter, but and nobody had guns, so you couldn't do nothing. Nobody had been issued anything yet. So it was about the second day, and they have a formation, and they call out your name, and then you report once your name is called out, and then they tell you what unit and plane to catch, all that stuff. So I'm not paying a whole lot of attention to one day, and gee, I thought I heard my name called, and I'm going to the 101st Airborne. I'm going, 101st? I'm going, I never had any, jump training or that shit, I'm going, oh, this is great. As I go, I pack all my stuff, and I get over there, and I'm going, Bradford, Marley, I'm going, I don't know why I'm going to the 101st. They're going, well, we can't find your name anywhere. They said, there's a Bradford Farley. I'm going, really? Oh, good. So I'll go back, take my duffel bag back, throw it in the thing. You dumb shit, So anyway, I didn't go to the 101st. Then about a day later, we ended up going getting our orders, and we flew out to Pleiku. We got our orders to go to the 4th Infantry. Well, I mean, you're always on these different little planes that you've never been on before. As the C-130, you're sitting against the walls in these little hangar seats, you know, canvas seats, like a lawn chair. So you sit in there, and I mean, you're all the time, you know, your eyes are probably about this big, you know you know what the hell's going on, where you're going. So Pleiku could have been in, you know, China, who the hell knew? So anyway, we flew up to Pleiku, and we did know we were going to the 4th Infantry, which we thought, this isn't good, because we hadn't heard anything but bad stuff about the 4th. So we get up there, and like I say, my buddy and I, we got it complete. We got our issue, we got our packs, and we got an issue of clothes, jungle fatigues, and everything that you brought over there. I think they assigned you a foot locker, so you threw all your regular Army stuff that you had with you, your khakis and all that shit, and you threw it in the foot locker. And that's where it stayed until you came back.
Did you ever see that stuff again?
Yeah. In fact, when I wore it back, I smelled like a ball of mildew coming back, I'm sure, because I had this, it was the same, it had been in there a whole year, you know, this uniform. So we get our issue, and which isn't much. And we just happened to luck out and be the first ones to get the new aluminum packs, backpacks, rather than the old Army butt pack that the most of the guys had. So we got the new packs, and my buddy and I, Michael Howell, we signed up for the buddy plan, and we were fortunate enough to get with the 25th. 3rd Brigade of the 25th Infantry, which was on the other side of the base from the 4th Infantry. So we were kind of happy about that we didn't go to the 4th, we went to the 25th. And we were there, probably, they took us out, all the new guys have to go out on this little practice run and spend a night outside the perimeter.
Is this your advanced jungle training?
No, I don't know. They might have called it that. It was just a one-day walk out in the thing, and they set up a perimeter, and you stayed there overnight, not knowing anything, you know. And Mountain Yards had their little places out there. Went by some of those. They were up on stilts and stuff. And
what was the first thing you thought when you saw the Mountain Yards?
You know, they looked like natives. You know, like. You know, they didn't look Vietnamese. You know, they were taller, and
did they stare at you? Did they look
well, they've been used to us, so we didn't look, and they were friendly to us. They helped the Army quite a bit over there.
What was your first interaction with one of them?
I can't quite remember, to tell you the truth. I can't remember whether I got that my bracelet from one of those guys at that time, or if I got it inside the perimeter back when we got back. No, it was hotter. The mosquitoes were bigger. Everything was twice the size over there except the people. You know, the ants were bigger, the mosquitoes were bigger, the snakes, all the stuff was bigger. The trees, the spiders, all that stuff was bigger. And then you got the little people. You know, something went wrong over there. I don't know where it was, but they got screwed over on the deal, I think. So anyway, so we spent the night out there, and I guess it's common. You know, somebody heard something, and one guy opened up, and the whole perimeter opened up. I thought the sergeant out there was going to go ape shit, because there's nothing out there. They know nothing's out there. You know, just somebody jumped the gun, and then you got, you know, like 50 guys that don't know shit, and so they all opened up, don't know what the hell they're even shooting at. So we got through that night, and we went back, and then about a week later, I got assigned to the unit I was going to be with, the 1st to 14th, and so I took off in a caribou out of Pleiku and flew over towards Bong Song, which is over by the South China Sea, and I remember flying around, and I'm looking down, and I mean, this thing looks like a bike path down there. And I'm going, oh, that's where we're going to land? I mean, it's just a strip out of the jungle. I mean, I mean, this is a regular sized plane, but these caribous were unbelievable. They would come in and just drop, and the minute they hit the ground, they could stop and take off in just real short distances. And they'd back those engines up, and you'd go right like to the edge of the jungle, and then they'd turn around and come back. But anyway, so I got down and finally got with my unit, and still, you know, don't know nobody, don't know shit. And so finally, I would think I was there a couple nights, and it started raining, like the first night I was there. And I was supposed to pull guard outside, you know, and so, but I was inside this hooch, and the sergeant came over and chewed my ass out because, hey, dumb shit, you're supposed to, the guard dude is outside. I'm going, in the rain? Hey, you a dummy. You're going to be in the rain, he said, for about a year. So so I went, you know, pulled guard outside, got soaking ass wet, and I'm going, oh man, this is good, you know. It's getting worse all the time. I finally got with my unit, and we were there at this one base camp for about maybe another week, and then we had a combat assault. Just my luck again. I just happened to be in the first chopper. I was in the first platoon, so I'm new, and I'm in the lead. I mean, with the guys in the lead chopper, you know, and we're sitting in the doorway, hanging out. You know, I'm kind of back because I'm not used to. I didn't know. You know, I'm going, hey, chopper, no doors. I mean, what? You know, and you know, everybody's sitting in the doorway. That's how they rode them out. You know, once you knew what you were doing. And so I was sitting in the front part, and I didn't realize, because it's the first time I'd been on, you know, choppered out in the field, that only the lead choppers do any shooting when they're coming in. The other ones don't because they got all the guys behind them and stuff. So I'm sitting in the chopper, and all of a sudden, I mean, the gunner opens up with the 60 off both sides of this chopper we're on. And I'm going, holy shit, we're in the war now, you know. This, you know, and there was nothing out there. It was just, you know, scraping the stuff was coming in. But I remember being just scared shitless going in there. And so we hovered up above the ground, and he didn't want to land because the grass was too deep. It was elephant grass, and so we jumped out. And from then on, we just walked around and looked for him. And that's what we spent most of our time doing. As the time I was over there, actually. Searching and destroying and burning villages and all that kind of stuff. But so we worked there for in Bong Song in that area. We were out, like, that operation was like 2 months. It was 2 months long. And no change of clothes, no nothing. And you just ate sea rations. You got resupplied every other day with sea rations and water. And a lot of times, if we were near creeks or something, you know, we'd use the water out of that. And they told you, you know, to use iodine tablets. But I think I used iodine tablets twice. The water tastes like shit. I'm going to drink this. I'd rather I'll just get germs. I don't care. So I just put, after I got some stuff from home, I told my folks to send me over to Kool-Aid, so I just dumped Kool-Aid in there. Canteen. That's when they had, you know, like the Goofy grape and all that kind of stuff, and that was a lifesaver. So you could distill any kind of stuff with that Kool-Aid. So I got dysentery once, only one time, and I didn't use an iodine tablet the whole year I was over there. I mean, so, but most of the time we were drinking out of creeks, mountain streams, you know, whatever. To Quignon, and we got trucks, and they trucked us up to up around Chulai. It was Hill 54. It was just north of Chulai, and they went by elevations over there. I mean, that was your base camp, Hill 54 or Hill 92, or, you know, whatever the elevation of the hill was you were on, seemed to be the name of the base camp. And that was our main base camp for about 4 or 5 months. We worked out of there and worked the mountains west of Chulai, and we had lots of operations. My buddy, we signed up. Like I say, we signed up for the buddy plan, and we actually got in the same platoon. We were in different squads, and but we figured we were pretty lucky to do that. And we were up around Bong Song, and I'd been over there like a month and a half. I hadn't seen really a Viet Cong yet, to tell you the truth, and hadn't had any contact.
How many patrols so far?
Oh, we were on, like, the one operation was like 2 months. Didn't even have any contact. Well, that was the shocker about the whole thing was, I still had this image in my mind that the war was going to be by older guys. And when I got out there, I go looking around, and everybody's 19, 20, maybe the lieutenants are 21, 22. They're the old guys. And so that was the shocker.
What was your image of him?
He was just knowledgeable. Of course, at that time, you're trying to soak in any kind of information you can. Anything that'll help you. I remember, I don't know if you want to hear this or not. You're going to edit this, right? You might want to cut this part out. Anyway, we were back at one of the base camps after about 2 months. We finally got back into a base camp, and we finally got some decent food and stuff. Anyway, something in the food. But unfortunately, naturally, I'm the first guy it hits. So we're sitting around this perimeter, and I'm in a bunk, in an open bunker pit thing that we had dug, and the latrine was just a box over a trench out in the open field, just a little field thing, right there, inside the perimeter, and it was about, maybe 200 yards away. So I told the guys, hey, I'll be back, and I got to go to the bathroom. So I start walking over there, I'm about halfway there, and I'm going, hey, I don't really know if I'm going to make it. So I'm going to think, well, I better run. So I took it to about 2 giant steps. Well, I started going, and before I get my pants down, I got one pant, because your boots are bloused, I got one pant leg up to about halfway up one calf, and they're starting to fill up the other one. So I'm going, oh, this is good. So I finally got my pants down, did what I could right there, covered it up, waddled over to where the box was, took my pants off, tried to scrape out what I had left. You only got one pair of pants over there. This is it, So I finally scrape out what I could, get that out of there. And so all you can do is put them back on, So I put them back on, and I'm walking back to my position over there. And the wind must have been blowing just right. I would get about 50 yards from these guys. They're going, what the hell did you do? Fall in that thing over there? I'm going, well, I might as well have. Anyway, they thought that was quite funny. So we had to. There was a creek, down below. So I went down to the creek, and I'm washing my pants out, and we had to go out on patrol that afternoon. So I didn't get them completely washed out like I wanted. So I had to put them back on again. So Marley, they said, you will be walking in the rear of this column today. So I was all my time. I was in the rear of the thing all day long. So then whenever they'd come to a creek, they'd call my name, and I'd run up there and sit down in this creek and wash out some more. And so that was the first time that I experienced the diarrhea. But I actually only had it like 2 different times. I had another time where I got called out of the field. The only time I came out of the field, basically, for any kind of medical thing was they had a policy in our company that the only way you could get out of the field, or you have at least 102 temperature. It's either 102 or 103. I got my arm infected, and
how did that happen?
I don't know. I think I just scratched it. But infection over there that's what they guard a lot against, is infection, because it just, with the climate and the heat and all that stuff, it just grows, gets really bad. And they told me that it was a spider bite, but I'm walking around, and I can't remember, I think it was this arm here actually, my left arm. Anyway, and this thing is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, I mean, if I just touch a leaf with this thing, it feels like somebody's taking a knife to it. And I kept telling this guy, I'm going, hey, this arm is bad, And they says, nah, it's probably just a spider bite, don't worry about it. So finally my temperature got up to where it was like 102 or 103, and so they choppered me back in. And it's when I went back in, this is one of the times that we'd been having a lot of contact, a lot of sniper fire and all kinds of stuff. And I left that afternoon, went back in, and my buddy, the next morning, they did a little combat assault just from one little, like about a half a mile was all it was, out of one thing over to another rice paddy, and they'd chopper him in there, and they were going to do a assault into this village. And so, like I say, I came out like the day before. Finally my temperature got high enough. And when not to break this up too bad, but anyway, when I went back to the rear, the doctor, I went over there, and he goes, hey, if you'd have waited another day or so, he says, you'd have lost this arm. He says that thing, it was all infected, and here's this thing, I couldn't even hardly breathe on it, And the first thing they did is says, well, we're going to have to see how much infection. They took a needle, whomp in there, and they finally ended up lancing it, and they drained it. And, I was in there about a week. And anyway, while I'm back there, like I say, the rest of the platoon got choppered into this village. And they were online out in the rice paddy going into the village, and our base camp was behind them, and they were calling artillery over their head into this base camp. So they were getting sniper fire all the time. They're trying to work their way in there. And they finally get into the village, and the captain called back to the rear to the artillery guys and said, okay, cease on the artillery, we're in there. And from what I understand, they had 2 rounds. They'd already put 2 in their gun, and they fired them. And my buddy was in this hooch searching out with some other guys, and one round hit right on the hooch he was in, and they killed him and wounded about 6 other guys. So I'm back in the rear, and we get the word back that there's been some KIA and WIAs, coming in. And so, sure as shit, it was my buddy that got killed. So they said, back in the rear, they said, Marley, you're going to have to go down and identify him. I was like, this is good, So I was pretty shook up as it was, just knowing that he got killed. And so they put me in a deuce and a half, and I went down to where they had brought the guys in, and they had them in a kind of I guess it was kind of a makeshift morgue thing. It was kind of, it was cold and low temperature stuff. So I go in there, and they unzip the body bag, and he was barely identifiable, just barely. That he'd been hit with this 105 round, and just took like half his face was gone, one arm was gone, one leg was practically blown off, like half his body was just about gone. And but I could tell that it was him, and so I identified him, and then I was on the way back here, I am crying again, on the way back to the base camp, and just kind of made myself a little. My whole attitude from that day forward kind of changed towards the war, towards the people. I wouldn't say I didn't care about what happened, but I think I became a little more hardcore and a little more serious about what was going on, and I kind of wanted to make him a promise that, you know, I told myself, you know, I'm going to try and get at least 5 for you getting killed. And as it worked out, there was at least 5 that I knew that that made me feel a little better that I was able to keep that promise to him. So, but anyway, he was a great kid. He was from San Francisco. His name was Michael Howell, and hated the war, hated the Army. He didn't want to be there, and just a couple weeks before that, he had killed a Viet Cong kid. He was about 15, and it was one of the first kills that we had that him and I, you know, that we were involved in. He just happened to be in the squad that had run into him and killed him. There was about 3 of them that they shot, and he'd shot this one kid, and the lieutenant came over and said, you know, they wanted me to go talk to him. He was in another squad, you know, but he was in our platoon. But he wanted me to go talk to him because he was really feeling bad. I mean, you know, he felt like he had really done something bad by killing this kid. And I was trying to explain to him, hey, you know, the guy had a rifle, and he was black pajamas running through the, you know, I mean, of course you got to, you know, you got to shoot him. I mean you know. But he was so young, you know, it really kind of blew his mind. That, of course, when you think about it, he was only about 3 years difference than what the hell we were, you know. But you didn't think of it that way.
How old were you at the time?
19.
And the kid was probably 16, 15-year-old?
14, 15 maybe, something like that. So anyway, that was, he really felt bad about that. So I tried to console him the best I could, you know, and try to, you know, tell him, hey, you know, everything's going to be all right. Don't worry about it. Hey, that's war. I mean, shit, that's what we're over here for, you know.